Elden Ring Nightreign surprised us, collectively, 3 times. The first was when it was announced at the Game Awards last year, and by God was everyone jumping at the bit for a co-op From Software game. The second was when we found out it was a roguelite asset flip that took a few cues from battle royales and hero shooters. The reception was understandably a little shaky when the news dropped. I mean, it was a dramatic shift in direction for From Software. They'd spent forever knuckling down, bucking trends, and making the games they seemed to want to make, but suddenly they're channeling 7-year-old me and pouring every hazardous liquid I can find into a bowl and creating mustard gas in my parents' living room. The third was when it was actually really bloody good. It was a surprise to all of us, From Software included, and before they could even begin to prepare for a game begging to be live service, it peaked at 240,000 players on Steam alone. It's been over half a year since then. We've seen Everdark Libra pit you against far too many of yourselves, and a game mode for masochists who enjoy having their health bar drained by a strong gust of wind. But now it's time for a real content drop. The community had accepted the fact that they wouldn't see this DLC until next year and had pretty much lost all hope, me included. But as a fourth and final Christmas surprise, it beat the new year and is playable right now. Unfortunately, for reasons we'll discuss shortly, it's been met with a pretty mixed reception. It's hard to know where to stand when everyone is so torn, but luckily I'm here to give your opinion for you, and I think it deserves better. Let's not waste any time. So what's officially on offer here? Well, the Steam page says this. Elden Ring Nightreign, The Forsaken Hollows includes 2 additional Nightfarers, 2 Day 3 bosses, those being the only bosses completely unique to this game, an additional Shifting Earth event, and more. If those are my expectations, I've received just that, and more. With the addition of content from Shadow of the Erdtree, I understand feeling cheated by the exclusion of its expanded catalogue of weapons, spells, incantations, and consumables, and the DLC would have been undoubtedly better for it. However, balancing all of this within Nightreign's formula, especially considering a large portion of the Elden Ring DLC's content is locked behind a price tag here, is a big ask for now. Look, if they never add all of this, I'll be right there with you, pitchfork in hand. But I think it's unfair to judge this expansion through a lens it never intended to give you. So for a moment, let's divorce ourselves from these expectations, however natural, and judge it on its own terms. The 2 new Nightfarers being the clearest place to begin. First up, we have Scholar. He is a really cool and sorely misunderstood addition to the roster. He reads kinda weak, and also admittedly feels kinda weak at first, but he's hiding a ton of utility, and there's a lot of potential for me to pretend I'm cooler than I am. His passive nets him a larger stash size for consumables, throwables, and the like. He's also afforded the ability to upgrade these items as he uses them. If you use fire pots enough, they start to do more damage and even leave the ground burning beneath where you throw them. It's good to finally have a use for the most useless relic effect imaginable, being the insert consumable in possession at the start of the expedition effects. I think this nets him a really interesting playstyle from the jump, but it comes as a double-edged sword. Playing him makes me lament even more that we don't get to experiment with all the crazy consumable items in Shadow of the Erdtree, like the hefty pots and all the new status effects that come with them. His skill lets him analyze foes on the battlefield, applying debuffs to his enemies or buffs to himself and his allies. It's an interesting shakeup and is stronger than it seems. The longer you analyze, the bigger the buff or debuff. For example, a level 1 buff increases stamina, and a level 3 buff conjures a very temporary shield that releases a big shockwave when hit. It functions like a parry, and it's anime as shit when you pull it off. It doesn't encourage passive play either, as the analysis gauge fills faster the closer you are to the enemy. It's something to get used to. It's not easy to time your analysis between dodges, but it feels really awesome, and if nothing else, has a visually impressive payoff. His ultimate art links all enemies and allies. If one takes damage, they all take damage. If one ally is healed, they all heal. Its use is limited a little when you're only fighting a single enemy, but it's still useful for reviving your teammates, and there are plenty of situations where you're fighting groups. I'm pretty sure hitting a boss during this art still counts as damage against an ally you're trying to revive, and I've heard warming stones are really useful when everyone is linked to. This is definitely a less conventional character. He's almost purely support and his stats reflect that. High Arcane allows him to proc status effects faster than any other character, but his damage can be pretty damn pitiful. He's something to get used to, and I get the impulse to drop him and label him weak after an attempt or two. I do urge you to give him another go. Plus, his unique thrusting sword moveset is amazing, and they did a fantastic job with his cosmetic options. I like Gandalf the Gold. Next up, we have Undertaker. I think this is the contingency plan for those who didn't want to figure out Scholar. She just works, she's good in the wrong hands, and overpowered in the right hands. Her passive allows her to use her art around 4,000 times per expedition, as she gets a free use every time another character uses theirs, or when she narrowly avoids a grab attack. Yeah, that means queuing with 3 Undertakers allows you to ult 9 times in a row as a group. Her skill allows her to enter a trance-like state where she moves faster and fights harder. She gains extra poise, extra defense, and I believe extra damage after a certain amount of attacks land during the trance. Her dodge also becomes something akin to a quick step and definitely gives her more iframes. It's good to activate this whenever it's available, as it helps bring up your art gauge much faster too. Her art is interesting because she has Loathsome Hex, which is the standard big damage move you'd expect. Our own Dominatrix has definitely been watching anime, because she sprouts purple tentacles and flies towards the target for some pretty respectable damage and a stagger. It's been tempered a little to make it not so overpowered when you figure out how to chain it 9 times, but it's still a solid addition to her arsenal. I found out that if you lock onto an enemy and then position other enemies in between you and your target, you'll barrel straight through all of them to reach it. It's super flashy, and there's almost no downside to popping one off whenever you can, as it charges ridiculously fast. However, she has another option. If her art gauge is full, she can activate her skill and with a special button prompt, use her art charge to turn herself into an invincible killing machine for what feels like a solid 15 seconds, at least. Doing this, I think, sacrifices your art but gives her significantly increased attack power and an auto dodge. R1 spam to your heart's content, there's zero downside. She's essentially an answer to Goblin Colossal Weapon Revenant. She has great stats and is strength faith oriented, so using incantations is encouraged. I don't have to recommend her to you. I think it's painfully obvious how good and fun she is. Everyone gravitated towards her anyway. These characters are both a great addition to the roster and work really well within the old and the new playground in the Great Hollow Shifting Earth event, which is a new map. Come on, whether you like it or not, they over-delivered with the scale. It functions much the same as a Shifting Earth event always has, but when you're in it, there is no Limveld to be found. It's a cavernous mass of terrain, ruins, castles, dungeons. It's like the Shadow of the Erdtree cookbook of maps. Verticality, like that DLC, is the focus here. It also means we can now technically fall to our deaths. Damn near had me licking power outlets, I couldn't stop doing it. I don't think the possibility of dying in this way is what irks me, rather that From Software has decided that you are not allowed to get your runes back. Nope, and if you die in the Great Hollow, you will wake up in Mexico. Putting that aside, I think it serves well to shake up the formula a bit. Limveld is pretty flat, and we know everything there is to know about it now, Shifting Earth or not. I've seen a ton of criticism, and I agree it's a jump in difficulty. It's much harder to reach your full potential in this map, but isn't that what we wanted? Limveld was like that for everyone in the beginning, and the beginning was the best part of Nightreign. At least for me, yeah, I'm glad for the challenge, and I was able to figure it out and overcome it just the same. It's definitely stupid hard though, and it doesn't help that there are about 1 million places of interest scattered around this map that are unmarked. It's denser than it seems, and it can feel like there's nothing around when you are focusing solely on what the map highlights. It is beautiful though, and it's not without the special buff that all Shifting Earth events give you upon completing them, quote end quote. There's a big blue crystal in the middle of the map that halves your health in certain high reward areas. You can shatter it and dispel the curse by finding and destroying a number of smaller crystals around the map. Shattering the crystal also buffs you by way of boosting your art gauge once you run out of flasks. I think it's probably worth it to remove the curse alone. The buff is fine, but it's just the cherry on top. Aside from a few shakeups like the Sorcerer's Rises having different hidden seals, the map functions just the same, and once you figure it out, you're gonna have just the same amount of fun. I promise. Just be careful. Now, I do have one big criticism but it relates to the 2 new random events that can plague your expeditions. The first is an event where Caligo takes a nap somewhere on the map and snores so loud that it hails. This would be fine if not for it cutting my frames into little pieces every time the ice starts falling. The second is an event where Gladius splits up and turns the map into a furnace, forcing you to kill 3 dogs in different areas while the heat drains your health. This would be fine if not for the spawning of these outrageously powerful fire-breathing dogs that follow you around and vomit napalm that does 1,000 damage a second. Though that's not the big criticism. It's that these events make traversing the Great Hollow a chore instead of a challenge. It's blisteringly frustrating to figure out your route in such a navigationally demanding map, only to be forced to forego any preparation and hunt down Gladius or Caligo while they sit God knows how far away from your destination. The rewards are fine, and I don't mind having to change shit up on the fly, but it's a big ask to give us a random event that covers the most distance out of all of them on a map like this. But look, if you survive the mess that map can quickly turn into, you've got a ton to look forward to in the expanded boss roster. Before I touch on the bosses unique to Nightreign, there are 7 new Night 1 and 2 bosses, from literally the 2 most annoying fucking enemies in Shadow of the Erdtree to literally the 3 most annoying fucking enemies in Shadow of the Erdtree. There's a bit to cover here. In all seriousness, they are all solid additions, but I really want to give From Software their flowers for the bosses straight out of Dark Souls 1 and 3. The Demon Prince is back, and it's a perfect boss for the formula. It was already a decent boss to fight with multiple players before it was designed for it. Now it's even better. I really like the added angle of the expedition becoming a sort of little story, as Night 1 is the first phase of the Demon Prince fight, having him fly away after transforming and returning to continue the fight on Night 2. It kind of reinforced what I always thought was the appeal of this game, with every expedition in essence being a mini From Software game, you know, leveling up your character, exploring the world, fighting bosses, and then fighting the final boss at the end of the game. I wish they all had a little story like that. Knight Artorias is also back, and he's renewed and updated with a new moveset and fantastic aesthetics. He's insanely fast, and it's amazing to see him untethered by the limitations of a game like Dark Souls 1. The way the music cuts to even more somber and brooding drones in the second phase as he becomes more aggressive is cinematic and makes the fight feel final, like it's Night 3 already. I'm very thankful that he was afforded the respect he deserves. He's such an important character in From Software's history and was a step forward in their boss philosophy at the time. In that regard, I think the first of the Night 3 bosses is a mixed bag for me. The balancers, 7 Valkyries clad in white armor, come to restore balance to the night and stamp out its chaos. Visually, this is an absolutely wonderful treat. Guardian's wives have come to pick him up and they all look cool as hell. Their movesets are stunning, and at first fighting them all is fair and fun, but once you've killed them all once, it gets a tad complicated. One of them will transform into a much stronger variant, again stunning moveset, but now you're fighting 6 balancers while the Giga Balancer sends out about 100 million AoEs your way, some of which are telegraphed by this pink mist that is a little too difficult to see sometimes. When it all works, it's a great fight. I think it just gets caught up in the clunkiness that is unavoidable in gank fights like these. I'm hopefully not sounding too harsh because I do like this fight, but the effort budget most definitely went to the Dreglord. An amalgamation of all the dead succumbed to the night, a force made of the communal resentment of 1,000 angry souls, the pure impulse of rage. The Dreglord might be one of the best bosses From Software has ever designed, and that might be worth the price of admission alone. It's a Powerpuff Girls mix of Slave Knight Gale, Malekith, Orphan of Kos, and Manus. It is glorious. If you really want to experience this masterpiece for yourself, I think you should. I've left a timestamp for you to avoid spoilers. For whoever's left, holy shit! I mean, I expected a second health bar, but I didn't expect to fight the combined philosophy of every boss design I've ever loved. He's rageful and fast, but fair and telegraphed. The fight runs at 1,000,000 miles a second, but somehow you're still alive, and that's the best feeling ever. When he does the trailer moment and raises all those corpse piles from the ground, I thought it had peaked for sure. But when that dissonant, frantic piano cuts in and the pillars rise high above you, and only as he slams down in an explosion of rot do the rest of the instruments resume, bloody hell, that's what I'm here for. That is the bulk of what the $23 AUD price tag affords you, alongside a few new POIs for Limveld and what looks like an update to the map's landscape. I'm gonna go out on a limb here and say that the reception isn't warranted. This is harder than the base game, and it's nowhere near perfect, but with some reasonably tempered expectations, it's a really solid bit of content. I lament alongside those who wished for more, especially the breadth of content we are still missing from both Elden Ring and its DLC, but I'm holding out hope that they're on the way. I see too much criticism far removed from the DLC directed right at the center of it. Yes, I think this game fundamentally misunderstands what makes roguelites so addicting. The relic system is shit. Some Everdark Sovereigns were shit. They play it too safe with weapon effects and buffs, yes, and yes. I'm of the mind that none of that should affect your reception of the DLC though. It didn't mine, and if you like Elden Ring Nightreign, I recommend the Forsaken Hollows. I think you'll have a great time. Here's hoping they don't abandon this game, because I know the hate is just passion, and we all want the best for it. Thanks!